Hi, my name is Anh Nguyen, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Nimi Collectibles. We're really focusing on working with cultural organizations to help them support NFT and blockchain adoption. So we work with a lot of different organizations to help them devise an NFT strategy that connects with their audience and is aligned with their mission. In the most recent case, we're working with the Sziget Festival in 2022 to launch the very first NFT club. And what we did was to partner with an artist that then actually traveled to the festival with us, Tim King, which you may have come across and will meet today as well. We create the first collection for Sziget Festival in 2022. And we're looking forward to tell you more about it in this conversation today.
Hi, I'm Tim King. I'm a creative and a reportage illustrator, and I've been working with Nimi to document the Sziget Festival and creating artworks that are then turned into NFTs.
So an NFT is a non-fungible token. So many of you may have heard that term. What it truly is really a digital asset that can be created on the blockchain. And it could actually be any file. It could be a video. It could be a picture. It could be a JPEG file of an artwork. But the fact that you're going to put it on the blockchain means that you can trace who the creator of that artwork is, who is the ultimate owner of that artwork, any potential future secondary sale of the original owner to a secondary owner can be traced very clearly. Because of that benefit of that traceability and the visibility of the history of transactions, is very helpful for different organizations to leverage NFT to create more of a connection with the end user or their fans. So in this particular example, by using NFTs, the Sziget Festival is able to understand and see who are the fans that are interested in both the artworks that Tim created at the festival in 2022, but also benefit from real life utilities and benefits such as early bird ticket access for life, and also other benefits in the festivals in the future, because you can use the NFT to redeem all these different benefits in the future festivals as well. Nimi started in the pandemic because we realized that many cultural organizations, such as festivals, museums, different art organizations, really have a need to engage better with their fans digitally, and especially in the context of a festival which was very much canceled during COVID, and even in a normal year only happen once a year. The need to engage with fans throughout the year and really listen to what fans really are interested in became very, very clear. So we started Nimi from that desire to really leverage something that was an emerging technology, which is blockchain technology, that is often misunderstood because the initial wave of NFTs and blockchain really got very hyped up in a way that made other people afraid and didn't understand how they can adopt that technology in a mainstream way. So we came in to help organizations think through these strategies in a more thoughtful and strategic way that is aligned with their broader mission. In this case, the mission is to engage with fans. So we wanted to make sure they are able to adopt this very powerful technology in a sustainable way, and not kind of being afraid of some of the trends that we may be noticing in the market in the very first wave. So in this case, it is about leveraging that powerful technology to deliver a better fan engagement experience in a way that's aligned with the mission of the festival, and celebrating arts as well, in addition to music. This year in 2022 is really the first year for the project, so we definitely have a vision for it to be a long-term initiative. In the very first year when we started working with Sziget, because the festival hadn't taken place for 2 years, and prior to the pandemic, art and the art of freedom section at Sziget was definitely a big focus as well. So the festival is very much interested in driving more of that alignment of art and music and different cultural aspects on the island, rather than what is really best known for, which is just the music aspect of it. So we wanted to make sure there's a strong art element. I personally had come across Tim by chance in London a couple years back, and I was very interested and impressed by the project that he did during the pandemic, which is to document every day in his life of the pandemic lockdown. And actually, I have the book in front of me where he published a book with 365 drawings of every day in COVID. And I thought that approach to reportage illustration is very interesting. So he would pick up, a random object and actually capture the scene that's in front of him live on that particular medium. And that certainly tie in really well with the experience that is very much multidimensional at a festival like Sziget. And we felt like that's aligned very much with the idea of collecting memories, because as we all realize, after 2 years of being locked up at home, some of those memories are very, very meaningful when you think about, spending 6 days on the island and thinking about, all these different experiences that you had that photos can't really capture. And that's really how we were inspired to invite Tim to work with us, and really bring Tim to experience it and see it through his eyes. And he had an very interesting way of looking at different really normal moments that may happen in front of your eyes. But a year later, looking back, is very much quintessentially Sziget. And that's what we went for in the initial year, and that very much resonates with the message that Sziget want to broadcast to fans around collecting memories, and it is about cherishing those moments that you have in the week on the island.
So I kind of have two answers to this, and one of them is that really there is no difference, because as a reportage illustrator, at the very core of like what I do is it's about going to the location, experiencing it, understanding it, and then communicating it through like real world drawing. And whether that ends up as an NFT or a print or an animation or a film or a mural, I will always start my process like that. I think there's something very important about going to the location and understanding it and working with your hands, because when you make a mark with a bit of ink on paper, there's so much you can read from that. Like if the situation is really busy, it'll be more expressive, it'll be done more quickly. You can read a lot of energy through, is it a thick line or a thin line? What you draw that line with, is it with ink? Is it with, I don't know, a bit of ketchup from a food stand? And what you draw it on, like it might be a napkin or it might be a ticket or a flyer. All these things add up to creating an image that when someone looks at it, they can kind of imagine being in my shoes and experiencing that moment there and then. So I'll always do that. But also, on the other hand, like Anne has kind of just explained, the NFT format comes with some very like cool things you can add, and I'm quite excited about that. So if you imagine, I don't know, maybe I've done a drawing that looks at a stage, and I've drawn it from the backstage, and you're looking at I did one like this, and I looked at a performer from the side of the stage. Inside the code of the NFT, you might have access to that view. Like you might get a backstage view via the VIP section that NFT holders can have. So you buy the image, and then next year you can go and kind of stand in the footsteps of where that image was created. And I think that's really cool. And I think that's one of the really exciting things that combining reportage drawing with NFTs can create. Well, for me, because I like to work physically, it's simply a case of digitizing the work, you know, like that's simply scanning it in, bringing it together, maybe adding captions that I've overheard. I often when I'm drawing, I'll draw my drawing on one bit of paper and I'll write down all the things people are saying around me on another. So when I've scanned it in, I'll combine those both and create the final digital file. You know, like Anne kind of mentioned, a lot of people see NFTs as this big kind of like mystifying thing that is non-tangible, but it's actually quite simple. I kind of view it as you're selling a print, you know, of an artwork, and people are used to that. And that's how I understand an NFT to be. Anne might be able to shed more light on the process of how a digital file is then turned into an NFT. But I assume it's simply a case of conversion. Is that right, Anne?
Yeah, definitely. And it is really turning the physical work that Tim created at the festival into a digital print. And what we did is we then create those smart contracts. So that's really just the technical word for the contract that details the underlying terms of the access. So like to mention access to backstage, access to VIP area, and so on. That would then follow along with the artwork. So when someone acquires the artwork, it also comes with these additional terms. That is really a contractual relationship between Sziget Festival, Nimi, Tim, and the buyer, such that we would fulfill the contractual promises of these different access points, and then the artwork is guaranteed to be authentic, and there's only limited edition of those. So we have 150 editions of each of Tim's artwork. So those are all spelled out in the terms. So that's really what the boring legal side that follows the interesting, you know, fascinating, colorful artwork on the front end.
The Sziget experience was incredible. It's almost like a sensory overload. And actually drawing Sziget works amazingly with reportage illustration, because with reportage, what you're doing is you're using all of your senses to create an image. So it's not only what you see, but it's about what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, like the mood and the energy around you. All of that you process, understand, and then create the image. And as you can imagine, a music festival is kind of like a celebration of all of those things. Do you know what I mean? Often with reportage drawing, I end up in quite, how do I say, like sensitive environments. So I've drawn in hospitals, I've drawn in COVID wards, I've drawn in the back of ambulances. And as you can imagine, the mood is very different. Like it's quite serious. Sometimes there's a somber atmosphere, and you've got to draw in a different way. You know, I've also drawn in more like entertainment spaces, for example, in like the back of theatres where I've been in like famous actors' dressing rooms, and they're rehearsing before the first night of a sold out play. And as you can imagine there, the atmosphere is way more tense. But what's unique about Sziget is every single aspect of it is a celebration. You know, it's a celebration of color, it's a celebration of sound, it's a celebration of taste, it's a celebration of people from different countries coming together. Like, there's so much optimism and energy it's totally unique, and you don't really see that in any other situation. So as you can imagine, there was so much kind of stimulation of things I could draw. What I loved was not just one band, but like the differences between every single stage, and the energy at every single stage, and the color and the people at every single stage. Like, it was really nice to draw in different ways and on different materials, and draw different sounds and different conversations. I think that's what makes it special. See, I for a few years I've run a project where I do a drawing a day, partly to kind of keep my practice up. And you know, I've done it kind of since 2014. And when 2020 started, I was drawing every day, just, you know, on my way to work, in the evenings. I don't try and change my day to draw interesting things. I'm trying to draw like the everyday things that people forget, the things that people don't photograph. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously, you know, February came around, and there was this news of coronavirus, and I drew a few people at the pub kind of making jokes about that, thinking it was never going to happen. And then just a few weeks later, we were all in lockdown, and I kind of thought my drawing project was going to end, because I thought there's only so many ways you can draw the inside of your bedroom. Do you know what I mean? But actually it was quite a good challenge for me, because every day I had to think of a new way to draw and a new thing to draw. And what was really lovely was I was drawing the developments in the pandemic process, and the changes in the rules. And I think what was really cool was everybody in the whole world pretty much was on the same page. At one point, everybody was kind of staying indoors. And so we all had something in common. And drawing these little things was quite a nice release for me to upload them to my Instagram each day. But also, I had a lot of people commenting, saying like, "Oh yeah, I know that feeling," and like it kind of brought people together as well. I've got quite like a few of the drawings behind me. I've drawn, I don't know, on like, you know, like COVID masks, and this one was from like a Black Lives Matter protest when we were kind of allowed outside, on the back of like a sign that someone was holding up. And we had like, what's this one? This is like the clap for carers, where everybody was clapping out their windows and front doors, and the whole street was coming together. You know, there were so many scenes I could draw, and so many things I could draw on as well. I would say, I mean, my process as a reportage illustrator is all about exploring. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'd say definitely do that. Each day when I was drawing, I kind of had a loose plan, maybe like 3 things I wanted to draw or wanted to see. Like, I might want to see a band at 8 and see the tantric yoga session at 12. But I think what's really important, and what I'd advise people to do, is just like factor in time to get lost and like deviate from your plan, and find new things and get distracted, because the journey between each point is really amazing. What's lovely about Sziget is it's big enough that every day you can end up in a new area and, you know, try new flavors and hear new music and explore a completely different world. You might be in the beach one afternoon, and then the next afternoon you might be down like by the circus tent and the magic mirror tent, and they're completely different atmospheres. So yeah, I'd say allow yourself to get distracted.
What Tim mentioned about the experience of him drawing on the island, and how it's very much that multi-sensory experience, also made us realize that it's very interesting and somewhat slightly ironic that we're actually talking about NFT and digital art, but we're really going way back to what Tim described as the beginning of photographs, where you can't capture everything very well with photos in the digital space. So all festival goers and all of us are very attached to our phone, right? But maybe a message there is also to take it in and not just focus on the screen, because a lot of experiences are beyond what you can capture in image, and certainly beyond the size of your iPhone. So even though we're talking about digital art and NFT as the cutting edge of digital art, we're really going way back to the basics, that you want to experience the environment and the entire experience, and you want to connect with one another. And this NFT member club is really one way for you to connect with other festival goers and other citizens as well.
Similarly, in the email list, you had a question about like what inspired me, but like Anne just said, I when I was there, I was kind of actively trying not to draw what someone would photograph. I was trying not to, because I was trying to draw what someone would remember instead of what someone would photograph, if that makes sense. And like what's really lovely about the drawing is you've got loads of flexibility to, I might be watching a performance and I might start drawing from the back of the crowd, but then I might go to the front, and then I might go to the middle and chat to someone and talk about what they think about the artist. But this would end up being one drawing, and you can't do that in one photo. It's kind of like it's a weird medium. It's kind of in between photography and film. But at the same time, it comes with this amazing thing. Like if you bring out a camera lens in a crowd, people will like change their behavior. They'll smile, or they might find it quite invasive. Whereas when you bring out a pen and paper, everybody acts totally normally. And you capture behaviors that you probably wouldn't be able to photograph or film.
Hi, Duffy Magazine readers. We're very interested to hear what you think, and hope you enjoy the artworks that Tim created, but also learn more about reportage drawing if you haven't come across it before. And we look forward to seeing you at Sziget.
Hello, Daffy Magazine readers. I hope you enjoy all the drawings, and I hope to see you at Sziget 2023.